Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Hedva, and today we'll be learning how to make a hollow Zara cap. And for this project I'll be using this carry board, and the dimension for the cap is 2.8 inches by 24.5 inches. So I'll be cutting out my carry board now. And also the material that I'll be using for this cap is the sego gele, not ashoke this time. We'll be using the sego gele to make this Zara cap. So I've cut out my board. Next thing I'll be doing is to cut out my sego gele. So the dimension for this is, if you remember, for our board we used 2.8. So for my gele I'll be using 3.8 inches by 25 inches, 25.5, sorry. So the excess 1 inch is to allow for the allowance that will be folding in on the sides and for the sewing. So first thing we are going to do is to glue our board together, just the way I'm doing in this video. You hold it still for a few seconds so that it dries off. So after doing that, the next thing we will do is to take the gele material to the sewing machine and stitch that part. So I forgot to film the part where I inserted the board into the cap. So I was already doing that. I already did that and was already gluing the edges before I realized that I didn't record it. So let me just explain what I did. After sewing the gele material together, I inserted the board inside the material. So after doing that, the next thing I did was to start folding the edges in like I'm doing here. So you just apply your glue and fold it, that's all. So we'll be doing that for the two sides. That's why we left the 1 inch allowance we added to the material. So we'll be folding it ½ inch on both sides. So I think so far this is a super easy project, and I believe it will be something that will be very easy for anyone to do. So you see how smooth it is. There should be no joint, no air bubbles, nothing. Everything should just lay flat like that. So we'll be going around the other side too, and after we finish with that, the next thing we'll be doing is to make the trimming at the top. So to do that, we'll be using this foam and the gele material. So the dimensions for them is displayed on the screen. You notice that the foam is shorter and not as wide as the material. So the first thing we'll do is to place them on top of each other like this. You leave a 1 inch or half an inch allowance, then you fold it like this. So we'll fold it with about half an inch allowance at the top, then on the sides too. So you see the way I'm folding like this. So I will take this now to my sewing machine and we'll be stitching on the foam, that edge of the foam. Be stitching it down the top like that, then at the edge of the foam down the entire length of the fabric. So this is what we have after doing that. So we'll go ahead and create that design that you see on top of the finished work of the cap. So to do that, we'll be using our needle and thread to do a running stitch from the top of the material like this to the bottom. So just a straight stitch like that, just go down. If you're new to my channel, thank you very much, you're welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you also. And to everyone who has been sharing this video, who has been inviting people to come and subscribe, thank you very much. So this is the finished work. This is the way it should look like when you are done stitching. You know, as you're stitching, you're dragging it to form that rosette. So you see, pretty simple, and our design is formed. So you just arrange it as you want it to be. If you want it to be smaller, you arrange it to be smaller. If you want it to be bigger, you would arrange it that way. So I'll just tie a knot to finish off my seam. So the next thing we would do now, I would have to use a needle and thread to hold all this together after getting the desired width and shape I want the trimming to be. So we'll be attaching, after doing that, we'll be attaching it to this place that we have the sewing, so it covers it up and there is no joining showing. So that's what we'll be attaching it. But first, we would need to sew the rows together. So first I'll use my pins to hold them in place so that while sewing them they won't change position. So I'm just checking to see if the size is okay for what I'm trying to achieve. So I'll be sewing with my needle and thread. It might be tempting to do this with your glue, but it's way much more durable to do this with your needle and thread. It's more firmer than using a glue for this. So you work your way around the shape of the trimming, just go around like that until every spot has been touched, everything stays firm and there's no moving parts. So you work your way around like so. See the way I'm walking around. So after doing that, the next thing will be to make the centerpiece for the rosette. So to do that, I cut this fabric 2 inches by 54 inches. We'll be doing almost the same thing we did with the bigger trimming. This is more like a smaller one. So we'll do the running stitch again down the entire length of the fabric and gather it. So after doing that, we would arrange it in a way that it will fit into the middle of the design. So I'm going to glue it into the middle using my glue, my ultimate glue. So after I do that, I would also be fixing the lining for the inner part of my cap. I'll be using this facing material for it. So the width of our cap is 2.8, so for this you'll be using 2.5, so it doesn't quite get to the edge of the cap, just lays nice and smooth on the inside. So I would go and work on that and show us the finished work. So here's the finished work, all beautiful. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, do well to share, like, invite your friends to subscribe. And thank you so much to everyone who has been sharing the previous videos. Thank you to everyone who has been inviting their friends to subscribe. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it all. Thank you very much, and I'll see you all in my next video.